What makes you avoid eye contact with a girl? For context, it seems like guys have a hard time making eye contact with me. Whether it be a brief interaction or working together, they always avoid eye contact with me, yet have no problem with looking at other people regardless of them being a man or woman in the eyes when they speak. If this were just a couple of guys, I wouldn't be making this post. But it seems like the majority of them struggle to make eye contact with me. On the other hand, when I interact with other girls, they have no problem making eye contact with me. I consider myself to be an easygoing person, yet this always happens. I also don't think it's my looks. I consider myself average compared to most girls. Any guys have any insight on this? I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Some bad experiences in my teens have caused a little voice in the back of my mind to go, don't look. They'll be creeped out even though I'm in my late 30s by now. Me makes eye contact her. I have a boyfriend. Maybe you give off a now HR wants to talk to me vibe, open mouth smile. Mainly to avoid being invited to a spontaneous HR meeting. Embarrassment. I don't want to seem like I'm staring, fearing I might come across like a creep. The power of autism. No one wants to be caught staring, then bitched at. Because the thought of being labeled a creep is terrifying. Don't want to be accused of something. Perhaps you maintain eye contact to a greater degree than typical. For guys, it might be taken to be an indication of your interest, which they don't wish to reciprocate for any number of reasons. Because staring is sexual assault in my country. Y'all seen those videos lately where a girl accuses a random dude for being a creep after he glances in her direction for a second? Yeah, I'm not trying to end up in one of those. Why are you looking at me like I am a piece of meat on a plate? WTF is wrong with you? I am going to HR. Bashfulness. Men are not allowed to look in the direction of women without the possibility of being shamed on TikTok. There are many videos of women in skin-tight clothing purposely filming themselves in front of men, for the sole purpose catching these men glancing at them. They then post the videos online for the world to see. That is the world we live in. I'm not saying that men think that all women are wearing a GoPro to try to catch men looking at them. But men have gotten the message that women do not want to be looked at or acknowledged by men. Fear of being called a creep and thus losing my fucking job just for looking back and smiling. An ugly face like mine cannot be seen as innocent. Don't want to look like a creep. I'm shy and I do not want to come off as weird. Boobs. Do you have a lazy eye? It can come across as creepy or odd if you stare at someone too long. Some guys just play it safe and don't want to trigger some women as they might think that they are trying to hit on them. We have the potential to be accused of harassment or being creepy or problematic or rude or scary, or mean or demeaning or making women uncomfortable at any time, and it is always taken seriously. The better question is, why would we risk all of that? Because women consider it a cardinal sin for a man to look at them these days. You got this trend of women trying to expose creepy men looking at them at the gym. It's got so bad and ridiculous that people are starting to call out this bullshit when just a few years ago, women doing this got massive sympathy on social media. Hell, it's now a crime for men to look at women on London subways in the UK. I think. College student level perspective here, compared to what others are saying with the one-way trip to hour at work. In my case, I'm kinda on the mid-low scale for physical attractiveness. Even checked with the RME ugly and they all were sorry for me LMAO. If I can, I'd rather not look at a girl and ruin their day. Single quote. I respect women so much that I completely stay away from them. There are major ramifications of making eye contact with women in today's day and age. Especially if you aren't attractive. 'Cause everyone screams harassment or creep when you make eye contact with them or even look in their general direction for a split second. Fear. If you are attractive, that will be the reason. If a woman is really hot and I'm attracted to her, I will not want to be caught staring at her, as to not make her uncomfortable. Maybe you're just hotter than average and men doesn't feel too confident around you. At least for me this would be the problem. Man can be intimidated by a pretty woman. If they're not used to attention from attractive people, they'll feel uncomfortable with eye contact and divert their eyes. My observation has been that women always keep a constant eye contact when you are interacting with them. With men it's different. You make eye contact, then you break it, then do it again, and so on. When she's a complete nut job. Ginormous tatas, it's not my filthy mind, it's gravity, thumbs up. The only time I avoided eye contact intentionally is when I met a girl who had serpents for hair. She was a little cold and stony to begin with though. If I'm looking right at her breasts, then I won't make eye contact. It's physically impossible, I think. They're trying not to fall in love with you and glom onto you and end up like the guy in 500 Days of Summer. When I first started dating my wife, I couldn't look at her in the eyes for too long. She has a very powerful look, not in a bad way. A look that made me feel things I never felt before. A look that made her feel confident of herself. Not really sure how to explain it, but I had a hard time looking into her eyes. I really do not. Seems like it is rude to avoid eye contact. Do not want to stare at people but avoiding? There are times when I am so enamored by a girl in head over heels that I just couldn't look at her eyes, but that is rare. It's quite possible that you're far more attractive than you think you are. Maybe they're trying not to stare and are overcompensating. 2 options. 1. You're very attractive and they don't want to seem like they're staring or just generally are intimidated by your looks. 2. They don't want you to think they're interested because you're absolutely not their type. It can be a self-conscious thing. In my instance, I don't like being stared at for too long or making eye contact. Mainly because I can be shy. I usually tell whomever, so they don't assume that they are the problem. It's most likely something within ourselves. Just ask them, if you are curious. My gut feeling is you're more attractive than you think. Maybe it's in a girl next door kind of way? I've done a lot of sales over the years and we were trained to do a lot of eye contact. But it was really difficult for me to do when the woman had really big tits. I didn't want the customer to think I was checking them out. So I just kind of avoided looking at them in general. She might see my true self, thus ruining my chances with her. She might think I am a creep who is interested. You must have really nice boobs. Winking face. In general, people don't have good eye contact. Sometimes the right amount of eye contact seems like too much. It's the default state. When she sees you peeking through the window, nothing at all. It's disrespectful and I have confidence. I don't stare or ogle. But if I'm talking to someone, no matter the gender, I will not stare at my shoes. You might have RBF.